Thanks, future me. I appreciate chemistry as a subject because everything we learn feels interconnected. Some courses like calculus feel like the subjects are chosen by throwing darts at a wall of topics. Thank you for the demonstration, Will. Now, this chart looks very intimidating and confusing, but if we look at it part by part, we begin to understand how it works. Unit 1. I consider this the most foundational unit, as everything in the curriculum is based on information we learned in Unit 1. Unit 1 is about atomic structure, moles, and the periodic table, the very basis of chemistry. I would connect it to other topics, but we don't have any. So, Unit 2 is about the structure of molecules and ionic bonds. We start to see connections back to Unit 1 with how the periodic table can predict how many valence electrons an atom will have, and ionic bonding and the shape of molecules being dependent upon the formation of those valence electrons. We're starting to see some connection, but we are still very early on in the web. Unit 3 is about intermolecular forces, like hydrogen bonds, and how they affect the structure of objects, like in solids, liquids, and gases. This unit also introduces PV equals nRT, and finally gives moles its first connection. Intermolecular forces connects back to Unit 2, with how they shape molecule structure and forms of matter, connect back to the periodic table, as the elements often take a specific form of matter in room temperature. Unit 4 might look complicated, but there is reason in the madness. We are introduced to reactions and chemical changes in this unit, and these connect back to Unit 2 and Unit 1 because the shape of a molecule, or its atomic radius, can determine its attraction to other molecules and its likelihood to spark a reaction. Stoichiometry is an extremely useful tool in chemistry as it teaches us how to convert units, which ties back to Unit 1, with moles, and the periodic table, which gives us the molar mass of all the elements. Unit 4 is rounded out by physical changes that call back to Unit 3 because the strength of the intermolecular forces determines how likely an object will change states of matter. Unit 5 is about kinetics and the steps in the chemical reaction. Unit 5 is heavily based from Unit 3 as it delves deeper into the nitty-gritty of how a reaction works. It does draw some from Unit 1 as moles are used, and it draws from Unit 2 as reaction rates can be partially shown through VSEPR models. Unit 6 is about thermodynamics and connects back to Unit 3 and Unit 4, as energy is often transferred through reactions. We also have callbacks to intermolecular forces and intramolecular bonds, as creating and breaking bonds requires energy with endothermic and exothermic changes. We also get a fun new equation in Q equals mc delta T, which goes all the way back to Unit 1 and Unit 3 with moles and stoichiometry. Unit 7 is about equilibrium. Equilibrium itself connects back to Unit 4 and 5, as it is when the forwards and reversed reactions are equal. Le Chatelier's principle also has connections to Unit 3 because it involves changes in volume, pressure, and temperature. Unit 8 is about acids and bases. Whether an acid or base is strong depends on the specific elements it's made up of, so that it connects back to Unit 1 with the periodic table. Intermolecular forces affect how it dissolves in water, bringing it back to Unit 3. Acid-base reactions go back to Unit 4, as that whole unit is about reactions, and how it is represented is shown in Units 3 and 2. This is the final one, here we go. Unit 9 is more about thermodynamics. Entropy calls back to physical and chemical changes because, depending on how it changes, the situation can either increase or decrease in freedom of movement. We also get some callbacks with Unit 1 with how elements are used in galvanic or electrolyte cells. We have gone through all the units and how they connect. Now let's look back and see if we can understand the whole. It still looks a bit of a mess, but because we looked at each of the individual parts and how they connect, I hope you understand the whole a little better. Back to you, Future Finn.